The following morning, the Everhard mansion was already filled with excitement, with the engagement only one day away. Everyone had become busy with the preparation. Some were discussing decorations, others were preparing invitations, while the house slowly filled with joyful anticipation. Preeti had quietly found herself another responsibility, helping whenever she was needed. Preeti had just finished helping her mother arrange a few decorative items inside the living room. She stretched her arms gently. Finally, she smiled to herself. Everything is almost ready. Just then, her mobile phone began vibrating. Preeti picked it up. The screen displayed an unfamiliar number. She hesitated for a brief second, then answered, "Hello?" A familiar male voice came from the other side. "Good morning, Preeti." Preeti immediately recognized the voice. "Brother-in-law?" David smiled quietly on the other end of the call. "Sorry for calling you unexpectedly." Preeti smiled. "No, it's all right. Is everything okay?" "Is everything okay?" David became silent for a brief moment. Then he spoke. "Actually, I wanted to buy a few gifts for Sweetie," he continued. "But I don't really know what she likes." Preeti couldn't help smiling. Of course, no one knew Sweetie better than her. David spoke again. "Would you?" He paused politely. "Be willing to help me choose something?" Preeti thought quietly for a moment. Then she smiled. "Of course," she continued happily. "If it's for sis, I'll gladly help." David smiled softly. "Thank you." Preeti laughed lightly. "Just don't blame me if sis doesn't like what we choose." David chuckled quietly. "I'll take that risk." They agreed on a place and time to meet before ending the call. Preeti placed her phone back into her pocket. A small smile remained on her face. Helping choose a gift for her sister made her genuinely happy. She never imagined that today's meeting will quietly become the beginning of a misunderstanding that will change all of their lives. Later that afternoon, Preeti arrived at the shopping mall a few minutes earlier than the agreed time. She looked around before checking the time on her phone. Just then, she heard a familiar voice. Preeti. Preeti turned around. A bright smile appeared on her face. Brother-in-law. She walked toward him. Sorry if you had to wait. David shook his head gently. I just arrived. The two of them entered the shopping mall together. Neither of them noticed several people quietly smiling as they passed by. To anyone watching, they simply looked like close family members shopping together. Preeti stopped in front of a gift shop. She looked carefully at the display shelves before smiling. Sis doesn't really like expensive things. She picked up a simple, elegant notebook. She likes simple gifts as long as they are given sincerely. David quietly listened. He didn't interrupt. He simply watched Preeti explain everything with a smile. Preeti continued walking. Every few steps, she will stop, pick something up, then gently put it back. Not this one, she smiled. Sis already had something similar. David couldn't help asking. You know her preference very well. Preeti laughed softly. Of course. She looked ahead while speaking. We've lived together our whole lives. It would be strange if I didn't know. David quietly nodded. Somehow, listening to Preeti talk about her sister made him realize just how deeply the two sisters cared for each other. After choosing several gifts, David reached for the shopping bags. Without saying anything, he naturally carried all of them himself. Preeti noticed. Brother-in-law? She smiled politely. I can carry some too. David smiled faintly. It's all right. He continued walking. There aren't many. Preeti didn't argue. Instead, she simply smiled. Inside her heart, she felt relief. Sis really chose a kind person. The thought alone made her happy. As they continued walking, David quietly glanced toward Preeti from time to time. Not enough for her to notice, but enough to show. His curiosity about her had not disappeared. He never crossed the line, never acted inappropriately. He simply wanted to understand why someone with such a cheerful smile could leave such a lasting impression on him. The afternoon quietly passed, with neither of them realizing that tomorrow everything will begin to change. The afternoon slowly came to an end. After finishing the shopping, Preeti and David walked out of the mall together. The warm sunlight had already begun to fade, painting the sky with soft golden colors. Preeti looked at the shopping bags with satisfaction. A cheerful smile naturally appeared on her face. Sis is definitely going to like this. David quietly looked at her. Seeing Preeti smile, he found himself smiling too. But he quickly looked away before she noticed. Preeti turned toward him. "Thank you for asking me to help." She smiled again. Shopping alone must have been difficult. David shook his head. No. He looked at the shopping bags for a brief moment. "I should be the one thanking you." He smiled politely. "Without your help, I probably would not have known what to choose." Preeti laughed softly. "That's because no one knows sis better than I do." David quietly nodded. He didn't reply. Instead, he simply remembered those words. No one knows sis better than I do. For some reason, those simple words stayed in his heart. Preeti looked at the time. "I shall go now." She smiled politely. Everyone at home must still be busy preparing for tomorrow. David nodded. "I'll drive you home." Preeti immediately shook her head with a smile. "No need." She laughed lightly. "It's not far from here. I'll be fine." David didn't insist. Instead, he simply nodded. "All right." Preeti gave one final smile. "See you tomorrow, brother-in-law." David watched as Preeti slowly walked away. Her footsteps gradually disappeared into the crowd. He remained standing there. Without realizing, his eyes had followed her until she was completely out of sight. Only then, he quietly let out a slow breath. Meanwhile, Preeti happily walked home, completely unaware that tomorrow's engagement ceremony will become the beginning of the greatest storm her family had ever faced.